segue too, I want to talk about the different dexes too, and how. So maybe you can explain PortalXSwap too, just to because I know Jesse didn't mention it here. Why didn't you do that, Jesse? You can explain why it's the aggregation part and otherwise, but having all these products, what have you seen the last few months that has just been interesting as far as DEXs coming and just the ability to give users in the ecosystem just more choice and more features and more options to transact in this ecosystem?
Yeah, so I didn't mention PortalX at that moment because I think when I posted this, we were still working through our solution to integrate PulseChain again, right? So what PortalX is, it's an aggregator. It's basically a search engine. When you want to swap from one coin, regardless what blockchain it's on, and you want to swap into another coin, regardless what blockchain it's on, it scans and scours the internet, the different blockchains, and it finds these DEXs, and it displays those and shows you the best trade route, or it shows you a list of trade routes that you are able to take. You then select which route you want. Okay, now there's only so many routes into PulseChain, and the route that was always being found happened to be through a partnership that OKX had with Change Now, and OKX decided they were going to delist Pulse. Okay, so when that happened, people could still use PortalX. There just wasn't any way into PulseChain, right? So what we did is we went back, we talked to Change Now, we found basically another liquidity partner out there that had Pulse, and they had to do some coding and make some things happen, and then bam, Pulse is back up again.
Gotcha.
Now, as far as for on-chain swaps, PortalX is always aggregated across 5 or 6 different DEXs if you include the various different versions. So Uniswap v1, 2, and 3, SushiSwap, and then PulseX versions 1 and 2. So all of those were aggregated, and when you did pull up that trade, you saw each of those were quoted. Right, some of them didn't resolve an amount because there wasn't liquidity for that specific token on that DEX, but you can see that all of those are provided as options, and if there's a quote, you'll see across all of them. Now, we do hope that will grow over time, and we're working with our service providers to expand to include more DEXs on chain. These things take time. But, here you can then compare easily across these and say, okay, well, on this place, I'll get this rate, and it'll automatically, pre-select the one that gives you the most tokens, across all the options. But if you don't want to use that specific route, you can always choose a different route from everything that's displayed there. So,
yeah, just playing around with this a little bit to see the different options on Ethereum too.
Yeah. Now, what this doesn't do is and it differs from the latest changes to PulseX, is this will send the entire trade to one DEX, right? What PulseX is trying to do is to be kind of intelligent about breaking a single trade across multiple pools that are listed on both V1 and V2. Right. So normally they would not talk to each other, but this is trying to say, okay, I want to buy 10 million Pulse using DAI. Okay, well, instead of just going against one LP and swapping at that one rate, it's going to break it into 2, maybe 3 chunks and split it across in smaller amounts across multiple routes so that you might get a better rate and less slippage across those multiple routes, right? So that's a smart router that, will split up a single trade. PortalX is a smart router that will just optimize across multiple providers to find the best route out of all those providers to get you the most tokens on the other end. So,
and just on the DEXs too. So PulseX, Piteas, PHUX. There's a bunch of DEXs launching or launched, and the aggregation and the swaps between cross-chain stuff is definitely a game changer when it came out as well. What is what is the why do we need different ones? Like, what is would do people use one versus another for different reasons?
So actually, those are like there's two different things going on with those Piteas, and you've got PHUX, and so Piteas is actually an aggregator also, right? So it'll scan and it'll optimize the trade route. PHUX is simply well, it's not simple, but it's a DeFi protocol. It's a fork of Balancer, and it has different algorithms for its trades, okay, and different fees for its trades. So when you go to something like PulseX, okay, it uses the X times Y equals K formula, which we won't get into today, but it's just a very strict formula for the rates going up and down for bigger amounts of trades. You have like a far bigger impact than you would on the algorithms that Balancer uses when you do a trade. So for small trades, you may not notice much of a difference. You can go to PulseX and you can trade $100 worth of tokens. You're like, oh, okay. You go to PHUX, try and trade $100 worth of tokens, and it's like, oh, they're almost the same. But if you were to go to a pool that's pretty liquid, and PHUX does have some fairly liquid pools now, and then do a larger trade like $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 worth of tokens, you may see a drastic difference where you're going to eat a lot of slippage over on PulseX. But if you tried to do the same trade on PHUX that uses a different algorithm and a different fee structure, you may pay less. This is normal. Doesn't mean to jump ship and abandon one or the other. But it is a testament to this decentralization and options and plan Bs that are all necessary for a thriving blockchain. And competition is good. And yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember Dylan talking about PHUX's superior execution on stablecoins. I believe the less slippage on that swapping between. So it seems like each one kind of has their own niche, or especially on PHUX, the ability to get liquidity for a bunch of the Maximus tokens and otherwise. It seems like it's solving a lot of different problems or making things easier across the different ecosystems, sub ecosystems within the Pulse chain too.
Yeah, the platform that PHUX was forked from, Balancer 2.0, it has multiple algorithms or pool types that you can implement depending on the types of assets that are being paired together. So you're not using one formula for every scenario, right? So it can actually, by having a stable type pool, and then different things for different purposes, stable swaps where your assets are typically same value, can be optimized then to have minimal slippage, even though you might be doing large trades with them. And if you look at Curve, that's a great example of a platform that's designed specifically for similar or like valued assets, like stable coins or wrap tokens, etc. So, having that additional capability is a huge step forward, right? And it's just a way of differentiating itself from, say, PulseX or Uniswap or, Sushi Swap or something else, right? Not to say that one is right or wrong. It's just, there's so many different technologies out there. And like Jesse was saying, this is the beauty of a decentralized and diverse ecosystem, right?
Got a question here from Fast Abdul. What would be the main DEX for Power City tokens? Got anything on that?
Basically what the community wants, or maybe what even the best rates are, where they're. So I wouldn't be surprised if you found, say, Watt token more liquid on PulseX, but what if PXDC was paired to USDL and Coast stable token in their stablecoin pool, the pool that's designed for stablecoins over on PHUX? something that you can't have over on PulseX. You can't have a 3-token pool designed for stable coins, right? So you may find some over on one, more liquid, and some over on a different, on PulseX.